morning, everyone. Welcome to Woolen Spinning. My name is Rachel. It is episode 329, and we are in a brand new year, 2026. Welcome to this place. For those of you who are just new here, you're just figuring things out, you're finding out about me. Maybe you came here through Ply Magazine or Weft Magazine, or maybe you found me on Instagram. However you got here, maybe a friend recommended. Welcome. All are welcome here, and I want to say thank you so much for being here and for being a part of our community, whether it's on YouTube or through Patreon, on the Slack channel, etc. It's been a hot minute. We have not podcasted for 3 weeks. I have a completely new setup. For those who have the capability, you might have noticed we are streaming in 4K. Amazing. And I just ask for a little bit of patience as I figure out my new setup, because it is completely different. We have gone from being PC users to Mac users. I've switched to a MacBook. It's all kinds of crazy over here. So I'm trying my best and I probably will mess up. Before we get really too deep into the show, for those of you who are new and are just checking everything out, welcome. There is a link down below. It is the very first link that you will come to when you click on the down bar just underneath this video. That is an invitation to the woolen spinning community. The thumbnail is this right here. So you're looking for that, and it gives you a quick and dirty on all of the things sort of behind the paywall. For those of you who are brand new and have never been a part of the Patreon community before, I am offering the first month or year of membership. There's a discount code when you check out on Patreon. You have to make sure that you put the discount code in before you check out, because I can't do anything after the fact. But the discount is in yellow there. It is WNS, Woolen Spinning, WNS 2025, and that is good until January 15th. So welcome, and I hope that gives a little bit of a break, a little bit of help in terms of jumping in, because I know everybody's feeling the squeeze from all sides. Welcome, everybody. It's so good to see Rebecca is here, and Eliane, Dion is here, Dana, Pauline, Lisa, who else is here? Alberto, Christine, I'm going to miss people. Glenda, it was so good to pop into Spin Group this morning as well. I was able to jump in on my drive home from Nora, and I had full intentions of dropping back in, but with just this new setup and navigating all of this, I wanted to make sure that I was set up and ready to go, just in case. We ran it last night. There was a couple of glitches. I ran it again this morning. Everything seemed to be okay. So hopefully we'll be okay. Don't forget to use that discount code WNS Woolen Spinning 2025 at checkout for Patreon for those who are new. So welcome. We have a lot to share today and to talk about. I have a huge pile of things next to me here. So this second camera that's picking up here is just down to my left right here. And as you can see, there is a huge pile of things. So without further ado, let's get into the show. And I think what we'll do is I haven't told you what I'm wearing yet, and I haven't told you sort of a few of the things that are going on. So let's run the intro credits, and then we'll kind of get into a little bit of housekeeping and what's happening around here. Okay, so that's not the right credits. It somehow got cut off. It's so weird. I have noticed that a couple of my things, when I download them, they do not download the whole thing. And I had checked it last night and it was running fine. So the back half of our credits has been cut off. So hopefully our end credits are fine. But if not, I'll have it fixed for next show. I am wearing my Solaris. This is by the Barocco design team. It is, I think it's a free download. I knit it back in, I was actually looking it up when I was ready to talk about it. I knit it in 2011 and I heavily modified it. So I have all of the notes and everything in my Ravelry project page for those who are interested. This is knit in Barocco, what was it called? Ecological, I think it was called. And this was in the straw colorway. And of course, nothing is cutting and pasting because I am not used to it. I'm still getting the hang of this command thing. It is very interesting. I have a separate keyboard, like there's a keyboard as well. And we've changed some of the things so that command is actually control, but it's a lot to get used to. Like I knew it would be a big change, and I kind of had it foisted on me by my husband, who was like, we're changing to MacBook, or changing to Mac. So brand new phone, you know, all the things, switching all the things over. Pauline says yes for MacBooks. Yeah. It's a lot. It's a big change. I've used PC my whole life. And in grade 4, grade 5, when we used to go to computer lab to start to learn how to use computers and how to type, we already had one at home, which was really unusual back in the mid 80s. And, it was, but everybody would fight over the apples, but we had a PC at home already at that time. And so I didn't care what I got. But I've never really used Mac. So it's been a big learning curve. And thank you to Dion for all of her help so far. Okay. Woolen spinning radio. Rebecca and Dion and I sat down to discuss how the year went. Woolen Spinning Radio is available everywhere that you get your audio podcast. So you can find it on Spotify, iTunes. Where else do people listen to podcasts? Audible, all of the places. And we sort of had this like reflection on some of the end of the year maker questions. We spent some time looking back on the year, but then I didn't want to get too mired down in only looking backward. It was a very, very challenging year, 2025. There was a lot. And so we wanted to include some discussions about what we want more of in our making in the coming year, and what we are each consciously wanting to let go of. It was a really fun conversation. We had a lot of fun making it, and I hope you guys enjoy it. So that is available wherever you get your podcasts. And I think what we should do next is our housekeeping video for January. There's a lot coming up. Ketchup and Pickles, which is like the housekeeping post for those who are new and don't really know some of this terminology just yet. You will get up and running with it in no time. It's like me learning how to use Mac. But Ketchup and Pickles is where like all the housekeeping stuff is for the month. So it's kind of like the monthly newsletter. And I haven't put in Color Mania just yet because Dion's just finishing it off. So once that is all released and all the links are up and available, I will put it into the post and update everyone. And of course, if you're already a patron of the community, you will get all of the notifications for Color Mania. As soon as it's released, it'll just come right into your inbox. So let's do housekeeping next. And if anybody has any questions, please throw them in chat and I will answer them. There are some changes coming to the woolen spinning community in September. We are super excited to start sharing them with you. Please ask lots of questions for clarity and let me know how I can help you navigate it all. Ketchup and Pickles goes out on the 1st of the month each month. They contain all the links and announcements that you need to navigate content and events. Be sure to grab this post when you see it in your email inbox. Dion explores another color topic this month in the teaching content. Dion's color content will be available at all levels of Patreon support that you see active on Patreon at this time. Look for the companion Zoom group on Patreon to participate more fully in exploring color in your hand spinning practice. We're at a really exciting time with the Wool Circle because our Spinner's Book of Yarn Designs is starting the final part of our 2-year study. We will be looking at novelty and art yarns from now until Christmas. Please join Rebecca on the Wool Circle. Look for the free trial. Another module of Breaking a Braid for the Silk Circle has been released. Head to Patreon, log in, and watch directly. Enjoy! Spinning Staples, Color Mania, and Queries are dedicated Zoom groups with Rebecca, Dion, and myself, Rachel, to answer questions, navigate the book study, explore color, and discuss in-depth hand spinning concepts. access a dedicated community of spinners who are exploring their craft and inspiring one another. Our community groups meet informally throughout the week. Look for the Zoom link in Slack at the time of the meeting. These onboarding calls are an opportunity to ask questions, learn about Slack and Patreon, and get help navigating content. The post with the meeting link goes live the night before on Patreon. Everyone is welcome to join. I totally agree, Lisa, about the whole Mac versus PC conversation. I have like zero patience for it. I just had this foisted on me, so I'm just kind of rolling with it. But it was not, I really don't have any like allegiances to either. It's just a learning curve, right? One way or the other. Dion asked if I could please explain the term ketchup and pickles. So it is an old term. It came from when James was in grade 3, so he is now almost 14. So this was back when he was 8, and his teacher would do every single morning for housekeeping, she would call it ketchup and pickles, and it was catch up. We're catching up on what we need to get done for the day that we didn't get done yesterday, or catching you up on the news or things that are happening. Pickles, which is I think the stream is cycling, and pickles, which is like the fun stuff, and that's where it came from. So let me just make sure that the stream is working. It's buffering. And that's where it came from. So hopefully everything is going well at your end, because it's not receiving enough. Okay. Let me just see if I can go down to, there we go. That might be, you might have to change your, oops, hang on you guys. Okay. Yeah, so that's where ketchup and pickles came from. Yeah, it's buffering. Sound is fine though. Okay, so you guys can hear me. It's just that the video is just slow. Hopefully I will be able to continue. I did write this in the Slack channel, but for those of you who didn't get to the live stream via the Slack channel and you went through Patreon this morning, you wouldn't have seen me post. We are having a huge wind and rainstorm here. The wind is quite something. And my mom, if anybody's going to lose power, it's this neighborhood, unfortunately, because all of the lines are still above ground. So we never lose power where we live because everything's underground, but here they're still always above ground. So if you guys, if I lose power and I go dead all of a sudden, that's probably what happened. Because we've had some flashes already this morning of like things kind of, looking like they could go out. Hopefully everything will continue and everything will be fine. So let's talk really quickly about something that came in the mail. I am so excited about this. Rebecca did her plug in the last show of 2025. So if you don't know about Rebecca's book yet and you haven't heard her speak about this specifically, please go and have a look at the last episode. There are timestamps down below if you want to skip to her little promo video, if you will. It is a beautiful book. She has done such a gorgeous job, and we are doing a mini migrainer along. I think she's just getting it up and running, and just kind of getting it started, and people are sort of joining in. But in the summer, we're going to have a larger along, and we're going to be, the yarns that Rebecca used for this are all tweed yarns, and so we're going to have sort of a spin along, knit along in the summer around making tweed yarns, looking at heathered and marled yarns, what the differences are, and that'll be coming up later in the year. So it is a beautiful book. I highly recommend finding it and getting it. It is on Amazon. All of the links are down below in the show notes. So when you look in the down bar down below, you'll see you'll see the show notes. Click on that link and it will take you to the show notes on Patreon, and then you can scroll down just half a screen, I think, and all of the links for Migraine are there. It's beautiful, Rebecca. Well done. I'm excited to get into it and read a little bit more. She's got some beautiful little passages throughout the book, and some writing about you know, why certain patterns, and yeah, it's just a really neat little book. My niece has already requested the toast blanket, and I already told her there's no way. But the Art Deco inspired clamshells are just gorgeous, and of course it's the photo on the cover. My family is like obsessed with toast. It's very odd. My mom loves toast. My niece loves toast. It's very, the kids, if they want a snack, they go and get toast. I'm like, I don't know what it is. Are all families like this? I don't know. Dried out bread, I guess it's just delicious. And then the other thing that Rebecca is working on right now is we're finishing up, as I said in the housekeeping video, we're finishing up all of the tail end of all of the book of yarn design study that we've been doing for the last 2 years. So she didn't want to rush through November and December just to have it done by the end of December. So we've still got tail spinning to work our way through, and then some sort of reflections to finish it off. So watch for that coming from Rebecca as well, because there's a lot going on with that study. It was so long. She wanted to do it justice, which I love. And I sent her a package of locks last week to get her started. So it'll be really fun. There is a song called Yeah Toast. Oh my goodness, Dion. I'm going to have to look that up after the show. That is too funny. New Year's plans. Do people have, we were chatting about it in the Slack channel. Megan posted and asked if people had things that they were working on and wanted to do this year. I have been very, very slow to embrace anything this year for projects and things that I want to do for 2026, but I do in the back of my bullet journal. So this is in the very, very back of my bullet journal. I've been making a grid, a little bit inspired by what Diane in our community does, as well as I think Becca was doing something similar. I've just been writing what the craft is. So like spin, this one says weaving and knitting, and I've just been like writing in things that I'm hoping to get to this year. If I get to none of it, that's totally fine. If I get to all of it, that's great too. But there's a few things on here that like I want to finish. And there's a couple of things that I've been procrastinating about casting on because I just literally haven't had a chance to sit and cast it on. And I've been working on my vintage cardigan, which we'll talk about. So these are just some of the things that have been hanging over me for the last couple of weeks, last couple of years. And there's a couple of things that actually I was able to include in my spinDecember spin along yarn, which is right here, which we'll talk about in a minute, that actually is clearing off. It cleared out stash and it cleared out bobbins just accidentally, which is a really good feeling, and the whole purpose behind spinDecember in the first place. So that was neat. So I think what we'll do is we'll start off with some of the things that I have actually, like the spinDecember, I've actually skeined a whole bunch of this and finished it off. So why don't we start with that? If I get to none of it, I will have to go visit Rebecca. I need her to finish it all for me. I got this for Christmas from my family because they are hilarious and they know me so well. And this is what it says on the inside, which is just hilarious. They're very thoughtful. So my spinDecember was an along that we did for the first time this past December, and it was inspired by Dion, and she was the brainchild behind it. We had a couple of episodes in November, sort of prepping everybody and explaining what it was all about, and I hope that you guys will go back and watch that and hopefully participate this year in December. My spinDecember was quite interesting because I kind of started with this plan where I had all of the fiber that I collected throughout the year. Some of it was old, and I had found it as I was tossing my stash and as we were moving out of our house back in November. As you guys who've been around for a while, you will recognize that the background behind me is not where I normally podcast. We're living with my mom right now, and we will probably be here until mid-April at the earliest. So as we were moving out and planning to move in here, I was very strategic about what I brought with me and what I wanted to have with me. And I was looking for all of the fiber that was left over from the last couple of years that was like yellows, pinks, purples, there were some reds. And you can see I sort of divided it all up and started creating all these little bats that resulted in little nests. So I talked about this quite a lot in the show back in December. That feels like a really long time ago. Do you guys feel like that? I feel like it was a long time ago. I don't know. It's just all kind of been a bit of a blur. And I started spinning once I had it all carded, and I had added, let me just get the numbers right. I had added 10% Muga silk to these ones. So these nests here, sitting here. And I had added a 20% tint with white Corriedale fleece that I'd had in my stash for a really long time. So that was these calculations here with this fiber sitting here in this photo. But then once I started spinning, I was kind of lamenting that I had lost the more concentrated color of these initial little bats that I had put through the carder just the one time, just to kind of get started with the carding and get started with the process. And what ended up happening was about halfway through this spinning these singles, I kind of realized that I wanted to pivot a little bit and that I wasn't going to take the remaining mini bats that I had spun and card them anymore. So I wasn't going to add the Muga to them like I had planned to. I wasn't going to add any more Corriedale to them. And I knew that it would result in less yardage for the second singles for the yarn, but it wouldn't make it so washed out and so cream-like, almost kind of an ivory feel to the yarn, because this is what the yarn ended up coming out looking like. So pink, kind of a peachy color, a little bit of undertones of orange, and definitely that gold from the Muga. Beautiful, don't get me wrong, beautiful. And then I had to go over to the house and was in the garage getting the locks for Rebecca. And I stumbled upon, and I never took any photos, so I am very sorry, but I stumbled upon all of these Rolegs that I had made probably 10 years ago. Like honestly, you guys, probably 10 years ago. It was when I very first got my blending board. And I had added Angelina, pink Angelina to them, and it was a homogeneous analogous braid of peach. It was called Sunrise. It was by Smith & You up in Kamloops, and I spun those up to a third bobbin and plied. So I have one singles with the Muga and the tint, one singles of the nests, these nests that I never, let me find them. So these nests I never put through the carder and added white or Muga to them. Okay, so I ended up just spinning them as they were, and I allowed any like texture that came through from only carding once, I just allowed it to go through. So that was the second singles, and then the third singles was these Rolegs. It was about 150 grams of the Rolegs, and I applied it all together. And this is what I ended up with, and I love it, and it is like so much fun. It's the sparkle comes through beautifully in the yarns that had the Rolegs. I'll explain about that in a minute. You guys are probably wondering what I'm talking about, but there was only so much yardage of the singles that had no Corriedale and no Muga, and there was only so much yardage of the Rolegs. So if you look at this photo here, you can see, let me just go back one. You can see that there's, in all of the yarns, there's a singles in there that's quite a bit lighter. You can really see it right in here. There's a singles, it's almost like a peachy pink, really light soup pink. Those are the Rolegs. So, and you can see it in here, that almost white, that's the Rolegs. And that was the sparkle. So only one singles of this yarn has the sparkle in it, because I didn't add it to the other stuff. I love this yarn so much. But then I ran out, right? Because I ran out of the Rolegs, but then I still had the other two singles. So I went over to my bin of bobbins, and I found one of my Lendrum Saxony bobbins still had singles on it, and this was full. It still had singles on it from my Triad capstone colorwork sweater, my field day cardigan from 2 years ago that I finished in January of 2024, so 2 years ago. And the singles in parts, in places, they are they were a bit broken. They had definitely started to disintegrate a little bit, but just in a couple of places and right on the surface. So once I got past that first yard or two, I ended up with that far skein. It's the skein on the very far. You see how it's a little bit bluer and a little bit more purpley than the other three? That is exactly how it came out. So it might be easier to see these on the big camera, but this is the one with no sparkle, and I used the triadic singles that were left over from my sweater spin, because I don't know if you guys remember, it was so long ago. I do not expect you to remember at all, but that spin, I ran out of yarn at the end of the sleeve, and I had to card more and make more yarn for that sweater to finish it off. And then I ended up with this bobbin full of singles that I ended up not needing. And so it's come out a little bit bluer. And actually, in a lot of ways, it's actually a little bit more, the blue brought out the orange. So it makes it look a bit more in the areas that, when you have blue and orange next to each other, or blue and yellow, they potentiate each other. Blue and yellow are complements. Blue and orange are complements, and they potentiate each other. They make each other brighter. So what's ended up happening with this skein is the orange in places, like in here, it's really hard to see on the camera, but in real life, the orange is quite a bit brighter. So this yarn looks really, really peachy, but it's more marled, which means barber poling or color twisting. And this yarn is a little bit more muted and a little bit more gray because of the blue being in there. But next, and of course there's no sparkle, but I just love them. I love them so much. And you can see how with these, because the second singles didn't get carded again, you can see there's more color twisting and there's more texture and more interest. I like them better. This skein especially I really like. It's got a lot of color twisting in it and whatnot, and you could see that in the slideshow. This is a little sample skein that I did first. I had full intentions of knitting a little swatch and stuff first, but I skeined it and I loved it so much that I ended up just continuing to ply. Because I was like, oh, maybe I'm not going to like it. Maybe I'm going to really not like this yarn. Maybe it's going to be a bit not exactly what I was looking for. No, it was perfect. It was lovely. What I really liked about this project, there was a few things actually, and if you guys want to watch the yarn cycle past, you can. What I really liked about this project was there was no expectations. I went into it with leftover fiber, stuff that was left over from last year that I knew it wasn't really going to get used. It was stuff that was just going to kick around in my stash for a really super long time. And if I had left it in my stash for a long time, it just would have ended up being moved from one bin to another. So I made the executive decision to just include it. As long as it wasn't a teal blue or a really bright royal blue, I pulled all of those out. So in that initial photo in here, I did take, let me see if I can find it. Oh, sorry, hang on. Still getting used to this setup. I did take, see how here there's all of this blue right down here in this teal and some of these like navy blues? I took all of those out. So I opened up those leftovers and I took out all of that really crazy teal and the navy blue and whatnot. So that's why the yarn overall doesn't have that feel to it. It was just too many colors. I had to choose one side of the color wheel to stick to for most of it and then just have a few zingers carded in. Yeah, so I loved that there was like no expectations. This was fiber that wouldn't have been used otherwise, and so it didn't matter if it turned out. The second thing I really liked about this was I intentionally spun thicker. I intentionally didn't try to keep my singles really super fine. I intentionally just spun it as it came. I intentionally drafted more fiber. I intentionally didn't try to, thin it out or make it a really super fine spin, or, make sure that it was, really super uniform. I didn't worry if the singles were really super consistent. I spun default, continuous backward, but I didn't micromanage the singles. I was happy for this to come out at a worsted weight, wraps Princh of, 9, 10. I think in places it's a wraps Princh of more like 11, which is kind of getting into DK territory. Totally fine. This will probably knit up on 4 or 4.5 millimeter US size 6, US size 7s beautifully. It'll be perfect. I haven't done a gauge swatch yet. I will. I'm going to skein this up. Now that I've done the podcast and talked to you guys, I will ball this up and I'll do a little gauge swatch just to see how it knits up. I have an idea of what I'm going to do with this, and I'll tell you guys about that in a minute. The third thing that I loved about this spin was because I had no expectations, and because I wasn't worried about whether or not it worked and whether or not the fiber was going to be, was going to exceed my expectations. I didn't have all of these hopes and dreams going into it. I really truly didn't care. Whatever came out of it was going to be wonderful. And I think sometimes we need to be able to turn off like that, and we need to be able to shut off our brains a little bit and be able to take a step back and just spin for the pleasure of spinning. This was truly about just spinning to spin. It wasn't about the yarn. It wasn't about creating a sweater project. It wasn't about having a massive quantity of yarn. I do know, because I was counting as I was skeining it, I do know that at this point, I have about 450 yards of yarn, 425 yards of yarn. So I have a fairly decent amount, and I haven't finished plying yet. I still have the rest of this to go. I'm probably going to have to wind this into a center pull ball to finish plying it with this, and whatever's left I'll just do as a 2-ply. I could spin some more singles to try to get a third singles in there, but I think I just want to finish this up. While you guys are watching the pretty pictures, yes, to take a step back and spin. Yes, Diane. I feel like I started last year doing this as well, just spinning on autopilot, not really with no plan. I feel like we did this last year too. I think I spun a whole bunch of braids, just end to end, no prep, no forethought, just sat down and spun. What is it about December and January? Let me count the ways. For Christmas this year, for our family Christmas gift, I gave tickets to my sister-in-law, my niece, Nora, and my mom, for the 5 of us to go. And this doesn't mean anything to anybody who doesn't live here, but I bought tickets for us to go and see Little Women at the Granville backstage, at the Granville stage for the Stanley Arts. Oh my goodness, where's Tessa when you need her? For the arts, oh my goodness, we go there all the time. Anyways, it was it was on Granville Island. Usually we go to a different stage. It's a theater company here in Vancouver, the Arts Club. Thank you. It came to me, the Arts Club. So they have 2 stages. One's on Granville Island and one's on Granville Street, which is super confusing for people who aren't from here. But the Granville stage, the Granville Island stage, is very small, and it seats, there's only one area of seating. There's no balcony or anything like that. And the stage makes it more intimate. But they were doing Little Women, like I mentioned, and my niece had read the book in the fall. I read the book when I was about the same age as the girls, so 11 turning 12. My sister-in-law studied it in university, and I was going to do a novel study with Nora this past fall if she stayed doing homeschooling, but of course she pivoted and went to French. Anyways, we were sitting there waiting for the show to start, and I don't think it's playing still, but if you're local to Vancouver and it's still playing, you have to get tickets. It was amazing. I don't think I came out, Mike texted me to make sure everything was okay, because the show started at 1:30 in the afternoon. It didn't end until 4:20. It was very long, and they did have one 15-minute intermission, but oh my goodness, it was really, really long. But it's a long book, so it makes sense. And I can honestly say that it's probably the best production I've seen on the stage. And that's saying something. I've seen a lot of stuff. It was probably the best. The woman who played Jo, for those of you who've read the book and know the characters, was incredible. incredible. Like, she was incredible. They got a standing ovation. It was amazing. I laughed, I cried some more. It was incredible. The girl sitting behind us had a turtleneck, half fisherman's rib sweater. And it was in these colors, and it was cropped, and she was wearing high-waisted jeans, and it looked incredible on her, incredible. And she was sitting behind us, and I didn't get a chance to compliment her or to say anything. It wasn't a hand knit sweater, but it just, Nora was like, I want one. I was like, I do too. So I'm gonna use this yarn to knit that, because it'll be cropped. I won't need a ton of yardage. It'll be quite an open gauge with the half fisherman's rib. So I'll do some gauge swatches, and then I'll start to create that. So very, very cool. Yeah, no emotional investment. Yes, that's exactly. This is why some of my favorite makes have been with yarn or fiber that was de-stashed to me. I didn't have an emotional investment, so I just used it and had fun. Yes, I agree. I think when sometimes for me, some of my stuff, whether it's for a project or it's for you know, a specific like set of learning because we're focusing on something in our community, whatever it is, I think sometimes it's not that I'm disappointed when it's finished. I think there was just so much emotional investment, like Rebecca says, and it took a lot of spoons. So that means like emotional resources. It could be physical resources, mental resources, because you're working through the process. So it takes a lot of spoons that by the time I finish, I'm just like, sort of like a wet blanket. You're just like absolutely done, and you just need to be wrung out. And I think with a spin like this, the whole purpose and the whole idea was that Dion really wanted us to embrace was just having fun and relaxing and just enjoying being hand spinners. So mission accomplished, Dion. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Oh, Christine says she read all of the Little Women novels in my teens. They were hardback copies that my mom had when she was a girl. That's so lovely. Well, and it's neat because Nora and I, because of the crazy fall that we had, Nora didn't actually read it before she went into the show on Saturday. So we are reading it now, her and I together, and she's loving it. We're into chapter 4 already, and she's just loving it. And she's like, oh, I wish we had read this back in the fall. I'm like, we just didn't get to it, but she's enjoying it now, and it'll fill in some of the blanks in the show that she maybe went over her head a little bit. But Claire had read it, and so she was just like wrapped the whole time. She was just the whole time, and it was so cool to see her so engaged and loving it so much. My favorite character is Beth. I just love her. I think she's so wonderful. And when we came out, Claire came right up next to me, and she looped her arm through mine, and she's like, Beth was amazing. I said, I know. It was so great. It was so great. Definitely the highlight of the holiday for me. Okay, so that was Spin December. So Dion, thank you once again. The next thing that I did this fall, or this holiday, was a completely impromptu cast on, and it resulted in something finished. So I thought I'd share that with you guys next because it was just really fun. So Diana has to come up and join me. This was a completely impromptu cast on, and I will show you the yarn in just a moment. And but I'm just going to, how am I going to do this with the camera? Might just pop her back a little bit so you guys can see. I cast on a Jaunty. So this is a pattern by Andrea Mowry, and it's a really interesting construction. So maybe what I'll do, actually, because she's a bit tall for the camera, is I'll just hold it up for a minute. You cast on at one end, this end, and you build out in a repeat that builds out just on one side. So as you can see, there were no decreases on the top edge. They were all on the bottom edge. And you increase, and you weigh your yarn as you're going so that you know how far to go. And you get to a certain point where you've got a certain amount of yarn left, and then you start decreasing. And I can't remember exactly how much yarn was left, but I didn't get quite halfway. I probably could have knit a few more rows before I needed to start decreasing, but I put tassels on to use up the yarn because this was spindle spun. This was all spindle spun, support spindle spun yarn, and I love this so much. And we were out back in November. I can't remember where we were, and there was this lady there, and she was wearing all gray, really dark charcoal gray. And she had these great black boots on and so on and so forth. She just looked awesome. But then she had, and I swear it was probably Sweet Georgia, the colors of the scarf and everything, it looked like Sweet Georgia colors. She had a long, narrow scarf wrapped once around her neck and then just left to hang. And I fell in love with it. And it had big tassels on the end. And ever since back in November when I saw her, I've been wanting to, I think it was at soccer one night, and she was really dressed up. Obviously, it come from the office. And ever since then, I've wanted to look like her. So I made a jaunty. So what this yarn was, I spun on my spindles back in 2022, I think. It was my spindle project for the year. And it was a braid of Village Fete from March of 2021, Hello Yarns Club. And I started creating roll legs just along the length of the braid. So we talked about this extensively on the podcast at that time, back in 2022. But basically what I did was I took the braid and I just lashed very lightly onto my hand card. I anchored the hand card onto the counter and I lashed on very lightly. And then I created these very lightweight roll legs like this, so that they basically only had one color per row leg. So it kept the repeat of color intact, so that when I went to ply and went to finish the yarn, it kept the underlying colorway intact. It ended up kind of being a fractal because some of the singles ended up getting a little bit mixed up, and I ended up with colors being mixed together, and then I had a bit of a plying snafu. And if you look at this photo here, I felt like a bit of a dolt when it was finished. I remember talking about it on the podcast, but if you look at this photo here, you see those really super high contrast purple and almost like a light blue ply. Some of it is 3-ply because there's the light purple in there, but some of it is 2-ply. And I remembered as I was knitting, I realized that the last half of the skein from about here to here, this is all 2-ply. And I remember talking about it on the podcast and talking about maybe trying to fix it and maybe trying to even unply some of it and redistribute the singles to make an even 3-ply, and I never did. And I completely forgot about it until I started knitting with it. And I was like, this was 3-ply a few minutes ago and now it's 2-ply. And realizing and looking back at the shawl itself and going, oh yeah, it was 3-ply. This is 2-ply. And you know what's so funny? You can't even tell the difference. If I hadn't have told you, you'd have no idea. It feels exactly the same. Both sides of the shawl feel exactly the same. They have the same weight, the same bounce, the gauge didn't change. Feels exactly the same. It's also very warm in here, so I'm not going to leave it around my neck. And then what I did last night, because it was finished, it was finally dry, is I took the remaining yarn that was left over and I made these great tassels. And they're just so fun and I love them so much. And it was beautiful here yesterday, and I had an opportunity to take it outside and photograph it a little bit. But this is what it looked like without the tassels. But I think the tassels are kind of cute and I really like them. So there you go. Yeah, and Rebecca makes a really good point. She said the marling is quite gentle in the final fabric. It's really interesting because when I was looking at the yarn, I loved the yarn from the moment I had it finished and plied. And I remember talking about it on the podcast and like that really high contrast between that light blue and that purple. It wasn't my favorite, but it kind of worked with the overall aesthetic of the of the yarn, and I was sort of happy to leave it. And I was going to use this actually in an overshot scarf. That was my plan. But then I really wanted to make this and just have a mindless knit. When we went over to Victoria a couple of weeks ago, Nora and I took the ferry, and she was in a tournament the first weekend of Christmas break. And I needed something mindless to take with me for the weekend because I knew we'd be waiting quite a bit in between games and whatnot. But it's really interesting, in the knitted project, the marling is actually really pleasant with that half fisherman's rib. It actually works really well. It's interesting. The stitch pattern is interesting enough that it doesn't compete too badly with the yarn itself. I think if it was garter, it would be too much, because garter has all those bumps and all those ridges, and it can really detract from the eye. But because this is ribbing, you can really see it in this photo here. Your eye can still follow the ribbing lines, and it doesn't take away or detract too much, and it's only for that one section. The rest of it is really obvious. So when you guys are thinking about choosing patterns and you're working through different things and you're trying to decide what yarns to use for different projects, and wondering about how the yarn competes with the project, think about the stitch pattern, because sometimes the stitch pattern really is too busy and it doesn't work. And then other projects like this, the stitch pattern isn't too bad, and it's okay. So yeah. The tassels make this shawl so fun. Thanks, Dana. I just thought it was completely silly, and nobody who knows what this is supposed to look like would ever know. Like, without the tassels, it's cute, but with the tassels, it's just fun. And actually, I will say, to loop it around my neck, because this yarn is so light and airy and lofty, it actually helps to give it a bit of weight. So it actually pulls it a little bit onto your neck a little bit better. So before, I had tied it around my neck and done a little simple knot, and it was fine. It was fine. It's really cute. But with the tassels, it just gives it a bit of weight. It hangs a bit better. How often do you flaunt your tassels when you aren't? I support tassel flaunt. Yes, Lisa, I love it. Walk around with my shawl. I'm going to put a tassel on the muscle brogue I'm currently working on. Yes, lovely. And of course, pom-poms. It's always time for pom-poms. I almost made these into pom-poms instead of a tassel, but I don't have my pom-pom makers with me, and I didn't want to wait because I was pretty sure I would lose the yarn. Just from moving back and forth and so on and so forth. All right, I have one more thing to share with you guys, and then we have community participation and chatting about what you guys have been making, which is really great. I put Diana back where so that she's not right on my shoulder. I have finished for those of you who are in the Slack channel, you will already know, I finished all of the Bitmap towels. There are 10 towels in total. I was hoping for 11, I got 10. We'll talk about them in just a minute. Talk about a huge amount of work. Oh my goodness, you guys, a huge amount of work. So these towels are summer and winter. So that is a specific weaving structure. And the neat thing about summer and winter is you can make your columns as long or as tall as you want. So sometimes with some of the weave structures, you're hamstrung by how tall they can be because of needing different things to happen to allow the weft yarns to lock in and sit properly. But with summer and winter, you can just keep building it as much as you want. And I wanted to show you guys, sorry, I've got something in my eye. I wanted to show you guys what the different summer and winter kind of options are when you're treadling, so that when I show you the towel, you'll kind of have a general idea of what I'm talking about. So at the very bottom there is what they call singles or bricks. And if you look at the first 8 weft picks in that wine purpley color, you can see that they're kind of, each weft is offset a little bit, and it literally looks like bricks. And you can build that as deep and as high as you want. And then the second one is called paired O's, and that's where you have two of the weft picks that are treadled on the same weft. So you do your tabby, which is the white that goes in between, that's over under, over under, over under, and then you treadle one of your weft summer and winter picks, and then you do another tabby, and then that same weft pick, that same treadle is depressed again, and you end up with what looks like paired O's. You get sort of these little O type shapes. And then your first pick and your last pick in that section are the opposite. And so it gives you this really neat look. When you do it over a long period of time, it literally looks like a brick wall. And then the top here is Dukagang or columns. And you can see why it's called columns. It's because they stack right on top of each other. Paired O's are offset slightly, but the Dukagang or the columns are on top of one another, and they literally stack up in columns. And you get this warp pick that's tacked down by the tabby in between the plain weave, but it literally goes straight up, and you get these columns that are straight. So I hope that that helps to just kind of very gently ease you into these different treadling varieties and what you can do with them. So I put this on my loom back in November, and I was really hoping to at least have half of them woven by Christmas time. And I was even gonna cut them off so that I could hem a bunch of them ahead of time and have them ready for gifts and whatnot. It just didn't happen. There was too much, and we had to physically move my loom to my mom's as well on top of it all. So in the middle of sort of doing all of this, I was moving it to her house as well in the rain. So this is me threading all of the heddles. For those of you who aren't weavers yet, you thread your heddles and then you slay your reed, which is that silver thing right there, and that gives you your set. That's how many threads you have over an inch or over a centimeter, depending on how you measure. So that is what that all looked like. And then here are the towels. So these are not pressed, they are serged, but they're not hemmed yet, and I haven't trimmed anything yet. So this is what they look like as, this is Dukagang, so columns, look for the columns, and alternating every sort of roughly inch, roughly. And like I said, I haven't trimmed anything yet, so just ignore all of the threads hanging off and whatnot. They've only been serged. So this is Dukagang, and you can see that it's Dukagang because we've got all of these like columns looking. So you've got these like right in here, you've got a column. The warp almost looks like there's like a line going up through it. So that's that. This one is bricks. Is this bricks? Yeah. Changing randomly. So I did a certain number of picks and then I would change. Yeah, Deidre, you're on to me. Those who aren't weavers yet. This is paired O's. No, this is bricks. This is bricks. This is one of my favorites. Actually, I'm keeping this one. This is bricks. I love this one. A couple of mistakes I need to fix, but otherwise. What I like about the bricks is when you look at them up close, it looks like bricks. Isn't that cool? I love that. This one is, oh no way, Diane just learned about, I'm assuming summer and winter in your last weaving workshop. This one I did color blocks. So this is all bricks, but the magenta, the dark purple, and the yellow. So when it's folded, and there's a couple of lines of weaving there that I can see I have to fix. When it hangs, it'll look like that. But it looks like I've got a couple of treadling errors in there that I'll have to fix. This one is paired O's. I love paired O's. It's my favorite. I love this solid, that looks a bit more solid. Love that. And change roughly an inch. This one was solid purple, so I didn't change the weft color at all. The weft is, the whole thing is purple. And what is so cool about this is that even with the white, it has an overall purple like tint to it. And I didn't change the color at all. So the whole thing is purple. And then this one, the whole thing was the dark purple. And it made the towel look really dark. Paired O's is gorgeous. I love Paired O's. Yeah. Unfortunately, I kind of messed up on this towel because some of it's Paired O's and some of it's Ducagang. I think I was going for Paired O's for the whole thing, and then I think halfway through I kind of switched. But that's okay. Non-weavers won't notice. And then this one was random Ducagang. The whole thing is Ducagang. So columns, look for the columns. But random color changes. And actually I have to, there's a pick, this got pulled, so I just have to fix it. And then it'll be fine. I just have to fix it. And then this one is bricks. Random. When I say random, I mean like I changed colors randomly. So they're not like a uniform length or uniform height. I just changed randomly. I kept the color sequences in all of the towels the same. So if I started with yellow, purple, dark purple, I stuck with yellow, purple, dark purple for the entire towel. Because I just thought that like from a harmony perspective through the whole towel, that gave a bit of cohesion, even though the height of the different blocks was different. This one is bricks. I love this towel. There's a couple of treadling errors, but I'll fix them. It's funny, you can really see them on the screen, but in real life you can't. But I'll fix them. The ones that are obvious I will fix. Or I'll keep them. And that's it. That's all of the towels. Isn't that awesome? Huge amount of work. Very happy that they are done. I'm not gonna lie. I was very happy that they're done. So that is the Bitmap, B-I-T, Bitmap Towels. And that is available, it's a pattern that is available through the School of Sweet Georgia. I didn't change the colors. I used what Felicia used in her initial, in hers. She's actually got them on the loom in the studio right now. And she's done it with, the warp is, it's my little sample warp that I did, that I labeled for you guys to show. So she did it with, it's gold, dark blue, and light green. It's really pretty, really pretty. And you can see how the warp mirrors each other. So it's gold, dark purple, light purple, gold, and then dark purple, light purple, and gold is in the middle. So yeah, really pretty. And I'll keep this and put it in my weaving book so that I have it. This is pressed and ready to put in there. And I'm terrible. I staple it in because I figure I'm probably not going to keep these samples for decades and decades and decades because I'll have moved on to other things. But it's a great way to chronicle what I'm working on now, as well as my digital notebook that I have through like in my Finder, you know, in my File Explorer. So I'm not going to share with you today my vintage cardigan. I was going to. It's such a big knit. It is way bigger than I thought that it would be. I thought I would be done by now, to be honest. But I'll share updates with you next week because I'm just starting the sleeves, and I didn't get a lot of time to knit on it over the holiday because I was working on Jaunty because I need something mindless. So there's a lot of visiting, a lot of chit-chatting, a lot of travel, and that was what I needed. That was where I was at. But it is coming along, and really hoping that I can cast on another sweater in the next week or so, only because I'm ready for a bit of variety. I'm just ready to work on something different, to be totally honest. All right, let's see if I can find, because the question is, where might it be to find all my things? Let's see, is it here? Okay. All right, I found one piece of it. The other cool thing is I figured out how to dock the live chat in OBS itself. So now I can see the live chat without actually having another window open, which has been awesome. Okay, let's get into community participation. Let's see if I can do this. So just bear with me. It worked. Yay. Okay. Miracles upon miracles. Okay. So we have an Ask Anything, and it popped up this morning on the Slack channel. And normally I wouldn't include something that was asked like so last minute, but it was such a good question. Oh my goodness, Angela, such a good question. So let's start off with that. Angela said on the Slack channel, these are my photos, not hers. I hear people describe high twist bouncy yarn, but that feels confusing to me because doesn't a lot of twist make ropey hard yarn? Angela, that's why we need spinners out there who are newer to the craft and are seeing things for the first time, because you come with a perspective that's different from those of us who've been around for a long time and who've been teaching this stuff and talking about it for a long time, because then you ask questions like this that are so thoughtful, that are things we've never discussed. So yay, I love this. So these are two yarns that I showed a photo of, and I just wanted to share them because they're good examples of what I would consider moderate to high twist yarns. So this one down below right here is my spinDecember yarn, and the one over there in the corner is a really springy CVM that had some cotton blended into it, that was from Melly Knits, one of her clubs at some point, and I had done some sampling for her. Both yarns needed a lot of twist. Both yarns needed a lot of twist for different reasons. The spinDecember one, I knew that a lot of it would dissipate in the water. And the one down below that was the Melly Knits one, it was carded, it was light and lofty and airy, and I hadn't packed tons and tons of twist into the singles. So when I went to ply, I knew that I had to compensate for that little bit of lack of twist in the singles with a slightly higher twist ply, just for integrity, just because I knew that the yarn would need a little bit of structure. So let's talk about, that's the wrong screen, what high twist actually means. Okay, so I don't want to lose anybody, but just give me a sec here to sort of, state my case. And a couple of people, Eden and Becca, both responded to Angela, to you in the Slack channel with very thoughtful responses that are absolutely 100% accurate. And I hope that they are helpful as well, because this is probably a little tiny bit higher level, but as you're coming into your own and coming into your spinning practice, this will become more and more important, and more kind of just part of what we do and part of sort of how we spin. So high twist means different things depending on the fiber. So often when we talk about high twist and we're talking about high twist yarns, we are often inferring that we're talking about wool, but not always. And sometimes people will be talking about wool, but the other person doesn't realize that they're talking about wool. So when you're talking about different twist amounts and different yarns, try to clarify what you're talking about. Are we discussing a pure wool yarn? Or are we talking about a blend? Or are we talking about a different fiber? There is no measurement amount that is high twist. Instead, it can be either high or low for the fiber. So when we talk about a high twist wool yarn, we're talking about the fact that we've probably put in more twist than is needed for the wool to stay together. So it's not that we needed to put in more twist, that amount of twist to hold the yarn together and give it integrity. We've intentionally put in more twist for some reason, and there's usually a really good reason. It's because we want a slightly harder wearing yarn. We want something that's going to feel a bit firmer. It's going to be a little bit, tiny bit more stiff, a little bit more dense, because it will wear well for X, usually socks, usually a garment, usually something that's outerwear that's getting a lot of wear and tear, something going to abrade and take a high amount of wear and tear. So high twist can depend on quite a few things. Wool, fine, medium, long, down, primitives, all of them, they have what we call crimp. So that's that, you know, surface texture, those zigzags that we see. In long wools, we see it as curling crimp. And they also have scales, and those scales grab each other. So wool can be felted, it can be fulled. And because of that, we can put a very, very little bit of twist in and still have a yarn that will hold together and do what we need it to do, because just inherently by the nature of the properties of wool, they will, we have things that we can exploit, like the scales, to have a yarn that will still hold together. So low twist yarns are often, wool yarns are, you know, they're lofty, they're airy, they're warm, and they still hold together really well, and they wear well, like in toques and mitts and sweaters, because of those scales, because we can exploit some of those other things. The crimp and the scales, they want to hold together, they're attracted to each other. More twist, when we add more twist to our yarns, they become really bouncy and springy, and that's that crimp in there. It's that bounce and that elasticity and that memory of the crimp that allows the yarn to expand and contract. When we talk about memory, we're talking about yarn that we can pull, and then it'll bounce back right away. I can pull my cuff and it pops back. That's wool memory. As we get higher and higher in twist though with wool, wool can start to feel very firm. It can start to feel a bit stiff. It starts to lack drape. And sometimes with the long wools, when people start spinning them for the first time, I remember talking to Rebecca about this years ago, all of a sudden you kind of cross this threshold of like, you know, enough twist, good amount of twist, and all of a sudden it's too much twist. And the long wools, you know, it's almost like they need enough twist to hold together, but so much that we're making rope. And of course, you know, in the olden days, that's how they made rope, you know, was by over twisting things and making rope and making it really durable. So sometimes when we put more twist into something and we really squish it down, it can come off the wheel feeling really compacted and really stiff. Sample and wash it before you take twist out, or before you criticize the yarn for having too much twist, because a lot of that twist energy will dissipate in the water once it's washed. So if you soak a skein yarn, this was very high twist when I took it off the wheel, and it was twisting back on itself at least 3 times after I skeined it on the Nitty Naughty. So the skein came off. The skein came off of the wheel twisted like this. 1, 2, 3. It came off twisted like this. And I knew that a lot of that twist was going to dissipate in the water, and sure enough, it hangs perfectly straight. So yarns can feel a bit hard when you first skein them, and they can feel a little bit stiff, but a lot of that energy will dissipate in the water. Not all of it all the time, but most of it will, and you'll end up with a beautifully finished, balanced yarn. So that's something to take into account, is do some sampling and wash them and see how they finish post-washing. High twist might actually only be moderate twist. The other thing, yes, Diane, long wools with excessive twist equals piano wire. That's exactly what it is. Yes. And yeah, Rebecca said she's absolutely right. That's how they still make rope. Absolutely. I said in the olden days, but of course, you know, now I was thinking about it like from like that they make it on machines now, and that you know see it would have been done by hand. But Rebecca's absolutely right. That is how rope is made now. They just add excessive amounts of twist. Plant fibers and silk, so like ramie, hemp, flax. Plant fibers are a little bit different because they're very long and they're straight. They don't have any crimp. Their surfaces are smooth and they don't grab onto each other. So because of that, low twist means that the fibers will fall apart. More twist means that the fibers are unified. So sometimes with our plant yarns, we can sometimes feel like there's too much twist in them. And I threw this photo in down here to show a blend. It was a wool cotton nettle blend. This is low twist, moderate, and high twist. And you can see how the yarn becomes progressively more cohesive when I added more twist. You see how here the fibers aren't really locked in and they're not really holding together very well, but the higher twist yarn much more so. Because there's no crimp to absorb the twist like we see in wool yarns, plant yarns can feel over twisted. when in fact it's actually completely appropriate. And the first time I spun Ramie years ago, I thought I was doing something wildly wrong. And then I looked it up and I started doing a bit of research, and it was like, actually, no, this is just what they feel like. They don't have any elasticity. So high twist in this case means that there is more twist than is needed to hold the fibers together, but that doesn't mean that we're now getting into rope yarn. We've put in a little bit more twist for that bounce and that spring, but not so much that we're creating a dense yarn that's lacking any life to it. And I loved Eden said in the chat, she said, by washing it, I allow the fiber to get their crimp back, and that combination of medium twist singles and higher twist ply just seems to give the fibers the most, quote, wiggle room, get the most of the crimp back in. And that's why it poofins, I love that, we're officially making that a word, and shortens and gets bouncy. For me, everything starts with crimp, the high twist just enhances it. Thank you, Eden, for sharing, I love that. So I hope that helps with the conversation, Angela, and keep the questions coming, because it's really important to understand these things and to sample and to play. And it's very normal as a newer spinner to sort of feel a bit confused by some of these terms, because we throw them around as if they're normal and we don't define them very often. So it's good to slow down and define. I totally focused on the surface underneath the yarns and couldn't for the life of me figure out what it illustrated. What was she talking about? Long wools? I'm not sure what you were referring to there. I have a ball of hand spun long wool I spun that I use up to tie up plants in the garden. That's a great idea, Christine. I love that. The garden yarn is Lister long wool. Yes. And actually Rachel years ago, she did a year of long wool studies, and she went from the finest long wools that she could find to the coarsest long wool, and she spun all of them and sampled all of them. It was fascinating. The coarser the long wool, all of the yarn, it didn't matter what she did with it, it was rope. And of course they were great carpet wools, right? They're great wools for carpets, for rugs, for rope. Yeah. Oh, the picture on my slide, the table. Yes. On the surface under the increment, for the life of me, figure out what it was. Oh my gosh, that's hilarious. So this photo here, Diane, that's hilarious. Yeah. And then this is a skein of yarn up here that was woolen spun and then very lightly plied. And, you know, again, just look at the bounce and the loft and the air in there. This is going to be a very, very warm yarn. But I probably wouldn't use it for socks. It's going to abrade if I put it into a situation where it's going to really get damaged. All right, this is a really fun thing that our friend Lawrence, who's been a very long-term member of the community, is doing. So she's got a thread on Ravelry that she started in our Ravelry group, and she's calling it 52 weeks of using what I have. So if anybody wants to join her, the thread is on Ravelry, and she's going to be working through what she has. And this is her closet full of all of her bins. This is the present state of the yarn cupboard, capitals. Last year I used in the region of 5,426 grams, which because of life included more socks than I expected. Hopefully this year is more garment oriented, as I have several very knit-worthy family members who have made requests, and she's going to try to get through as much of this as she possibly can, which is very cool. So anybody who wants to join her, please feel welcome to jump in with Florence. And then of course we had our spinDecember finish up. So anybody who's still working on their spinDecember projects, please keep sharing them in the Ravelry group or on the Slack channel under #general, because people are still spinning away like Dion. This is what she's got done so far, and she's got a couple more things that she's got going on. Beautiful spinning on your spindles, Dion. I love this blue yarn here. It's just gorgeous. And this yarn is spectacular. Really, really pretty. This is from Rebecca. She shared this a while ago, and she also shared it on the Wool Circle. We're calling it Christmas Dust Bunnies because it's so pretty. I thought it would be tweedy, but as it is only blending board blended and not carded further, it's just pure texture. It is so pleasing. Since I'm keeping it as singles, the blebs of single color are very noticeable. It does look a bit Christmassy, and I have enough Rolags for 2 more big skeins like this. I'm contemplating carding them more or just spinning them like this. I think you should do them all like this, Rebecca, so they're all the same. I want to see it woven. I think it would be a phenomenal scarf. I think it'd be awesome. Making some space. Diane's doing the same thing. I love it. This is from Colleen. She finished a green combo spin. The roll eggs were made 10 years ago. So it's kind of like what happened to me with my pink roll eggs. I pulled them out and I was like, I'm just going to get these spun. Just get it done. I love it. And Colleen said the skeins are 2-ply and my favorite are the 3-ply. I hope to knit some samples from them later this week to see which I like better. Gorgeous spinning, Colleen. So much fun. Now we've got some general makes and shares that people have been sharing in the Slack channel over the month of December. This one was from Megan. It was a brown merino from Melly Knits. Beautiful spinning, Megan. And actually, for those that we were just having that high twist conversation, this I would call a high twist yarn. It's still lofty and bouncy and springy, but look at that twist angle in there. And of course, merino has so much fine crimp. It can take a ton of twist before it starts to feel hard. And this is just a perfect example of this. It's gonna knit up so nicely. One of the best preps that she's ever spun. Amazing, Megan. This is from Susan. Isn't he cute? It's a Ganandad. I love him. Finally finished. I still don't like knitting fiddly little things, but he was worth it, and now it has a permanent place in my Christmas decorations. He is beautiful, Susan. Well done. I love him so much. I like his little mustache. It's so cute. This was from Becca. So she has been working on her certificate of excellence for her hand spinners certificate in the UK. And so this yarn that's on the left here is a basic 2-ply, but it's next to a slub yarn for comparison. So if you look here at these massive slubs in here, I think this is John Arbin, but I might be mistaken. And then she's got these really thin areas. Really pleased with the 2-ply because it came out a soft DK, and I usually go too thin with a silk blend. Isn't that beautiful? But a little concentration, I got thick, and with a little concentration, I got thicker, and I guess I can still learn new tricks. Love that color. And so this is for her portfolio. Such beautiful spinning always. Year of Yarn, this is from Alberto. Final boucle samples, nothing new, but I had leftover mohair and did a little more intentional spreading for more loops, for a more loop-like, and then double mohair boucle. And I'm not sure which is which because I can't actually remember. Maybe Rebecca would remember. What I really like about Alberto's samples actually is the fact that the loops of his actual boucle, because they're so high contrast with the singles that he used, you can really see what's going on. So he has some close-up photos on the Ravelry thread, and also in hashtag Year of Yarn. I think it's hashtag Year of Yarn. Yeah, Year of Yarn 2025. He has a bunch of close-up photos in there that he posted at the beginning of the month that really helps to kind of see what's going on in the yarn. The top is regular, middle is the original that I did earlier, and the bottom is the double boucle. So that one's this one here. Sorry, you guys. The sample was cut in half and plied back on itself, but in the same direction. Close up is the double mohair. And then now he's been prepping for the pigtails. Rebecca did this great episode on pigtails at the end of the year. It was so fun. Really fun. And this is from Marie. These are her cable ply and her chain ply. So this one here is her chain ply, and this one was her cable ply. And then she took these two yarns and made them into socks, which are beautiful. I love these socks. And then the chain ply she made into socks as well. Gorgeous, Marie, gorgeous. And this is a little bit late, but better late than never. This is from Sam. This was Breed and Color Study. So this was our Breed Blends and Color Study from 2025. We did a BFL Wensleydale mohair blend. I wove up a shawl. Rebecca did socks. She was kindly gifted half braids of the colored fiber, and she made some of them from fiber in natural colors, so she shared them. So she shared those as an exchange. Love the effect of the different fibers spun together. The colored fiber I split into two and plied with both of the other colors. Love the color, the subtle color changes. The colored yarn is 2-ply, the natural is 3-ply. Planning to weave with the yarn for some fabric for a small rucksack that I have a pattern for. I love that. And then thank you to Rachel for a fun learning time. I'm so glad that this study turned out, and I'm really hoping that as we're able to do another one hopefully soon. We can, that Megan will have some inspiration for color, and we'll share with her, you know, inspiration and photos from us, and then she'll come up with the inspiration and we'll do it. Yeah. Oh, thank you, Alberto. He said the pigtails are done and posted. I totally missed it. Thanks. Thank you, Alberto. And this is from Becca. I wanted to share with you guys this because so often we talk about it, but we don't actually like show it. She's carding very, very slowly today to blend possum. When we talk about slow, we mean slow. Like this is a hand crank. It's not an electric carder. Look at how slow she's going. I mean, I totally get why she feels like she'll be doing this forever, but this is what we mean when we're talking about these really, really fine fibers and trying to get them in there. We're talking slow. And this is an extra fine carder. So I think the carding cloth is 180 TPI if I'm correct. And the liquor in this brush down here is 120 if my memory serves. It's an Ashford. She just got it last year. I think she's only had it for a couple of years. Beautiful carder though, really great. It's actually kind of painful to watch. Yes, I agree. But when we talk about slow, guys, that's what we mean. All right, on to some weaving. This is from Dana. I love this so much, Dana, and you look so happy. Big finish for the year. Wove snowball overshot with some hand spun called Jam Sandwich from Hello Yarn. I finished up with 580-ish yards, and I had hopes that it would be enough to weave a wrap that's about 18 inches wide and 84 inches long. And lo and behold, it did. The warp is an 8/2 tencel in black, which looks like it worked out beautifully, Dana. Split the fiber in half end to end and spun each half to a bobbin. I'd like to weave this pattern again. I really enjoyed it. It is beautiful, Dana. I love this so much. You did such a beautiful job. I totally agree, Christine. I felt for her when I saw this talking about the carding. Yes. Oh, and then Pauline said she was on the same speed this morning carding alpaca. Yes, it's very real. Like for a newer spinner to actually see that and see how slow we have to go sometimes, it's really important. This is from Annie. She got a Zoom loom for Christmas and she's totally hooked on making tiny squares. Aren't these two really, I love them all, but these two are so pretty. I love them. And this is from Eden. It's her first twill gamp. Cut it off because I learned from previous mistakes and wanted to see if I could get an even weave after washing, because on the loom there was no way for me to get it balanced. As you can see, the squares aren't in fact squares. I couldn't beat hard enough to make them so, and that meant redoing the reed again. So that means that reslayed and did a different picks, a different ends per inch, so that she could get that perfect square again. And because I had already, I could already see that I was running into tension issues, I rebeamed it as well. So that means she took the warp off and wound it back on. Her kid helped and we got it done in about 20 inches of warp. Lots and lots of complaining and swearing, and surprisingly little on theirs. I am again 3 gamps in, each with a different additional pattern block in the middle. So these are all basically what a twill gamp is she's looking, when you do a twill gamp, you're looking at different ways of treadling the same pattern across. So you might have, like, different twill gamps have different patterns threaded, but each of these would have been threaded a different way, and then by treadling different ways they come up differently. So it's a really great opportunity to see how you can create all these different patterns and play with color and weave to achieve different end results. So her mom requested it as a wall hanging, so I finished it and sent it off as a belated Christmas present. I love that you did that. And the colors are perfect for this kind of thing because you want it high enough contrast that you can see what's happening in each of the blocks. So really, really well done, Eden. I thought this was so great. Thank you, you guys, for sharing and for doing all that you do and for participating in our community. It means a huge amount to me and to Rebecca and Dion, who've been able to carve out their voices in this community as well. I want to thank everybody for being here today and for being a part of the first stream of 2026. Thank you for putting up with some of the technical difficulties with just figuring out some of the technical stuff when It looked like we were gonna start to have a bit of buffering problems, but it looks like we were okay in the end, because we got to the end, which is amazing. We have the wool circle coming up next week. Rebecca will be talking, I'm actually not sure what Rebecca will be doing next week. I can't remember where she's at with all of her stuff. I know that tail spinning is coming, but I think she's got other stuff going on for next week. And Color Mania will be out in the next week or so from Dion. You guys will be able to watch that. And of course, Color Maniacs will be meeting Monday, January 19th. That is also the day of James's very first ever exam. He has exams on the 19th and the 20th, math and English, and he's never done an exam before. Tests, but not an exam. So I'm curious to see how that's going to go. And I think that that is it for today. I'm just looking to see if there's anything that I missed or anything that I have forgotten to talk about, but I think I've got it all. I just lost my live stream thing, so I hope that we're all still running and still up and going and it's all okay. Let me just check my notes. I think we're good. So I wish everybody a very warm, healthy, happy 2026. I hope that you do lots of making this year and find some things that really bring you a lot of joy when you're engaging in all your projects. And I will see you guys back here, same time, same place in 2 weeks. And for those who are part of the Wool Circle, we'll see you next week with Rebecca. So until then, happy spinning, happy knitting, happy making, happy weaving, happy all the things. Bye everyone.